Hi everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this Slavic Arrow tutorial, and today is going to be a little bit different because I've already started the bracelet. So I will just spend the first 1 minute explaining how I started this, then I will just skip into the tutorial. There'll be a timestamp in case you're not interested in listening. So first I made this loop, which is made from two color loops. One was dark green, one was dark blue, and one was multicolored. I'll leave a link in the description for the tutorial I actually have for this loop. But while we're at it, let me just talk a little bit more. So the plain loop was made up of backward forward knots. I think I made about 0.175 or 7 inches. I don't remember. Then I started with a double triangle start, but I recommend for beginners that you should use a triangle start, which is what I have at the bottom. So please just look at my string arrangement, then do this so you can have a triangle start. It's more like making a chevron. Yes, like making a chevron. And then for this pattern we have 3 rows of chevron and then 2 rows of, well, I like to see easy knots. I'll explain much better when we actually start making the bracelet. But then it's just we'll do the first row, the second row, and then the third row will split in half. So let me just take this down and then we'll get started. On the left here, you'll be seeing the pattern I'm going to be working with. And we're actually going to start the actual tutorial now, so I hope you're ready for that. So like I said previously, we're going to be starting with the chevron. So I'm starting with the right side, as you can see. So I'm just going to take all my strings minus the one on the right edge. Now with the one on the right edge, I'm going to be making backward knots. Now backward knots are you making a capital letter D, then passing the end of your string through that loop and pulling, like what I'm doing. And I'm going to show you again. Well, I'm going to be showing you for this whole part of the chevron because I'm going to be making backward knots on the right side. And you see, capital D, pass it through the loop, and that's all. I forgot to mention that we're going to be making 7 backward knots. I've currently made 2, so I'm making my third knot. So 7 backward knots. And now we're going to take that string that we just made knots with and move it to the left side because we're going to be making knots with it when we're on the left. So now we're going to switch from the right side to the left side. So when we've completed the one on the left side, we've made our first chevron. Now like we did before, take the string on the left edge. We're going to use that string to make forward knots this time over all the other strings, including the one that we moved from right to left. So get started. Forward knot is like the name, 4. Then pass your end of the string through the loop and pull. And make it 4, pass it through the loop, make it 4 a second time, and then pass it through the loop. And that's a forward knot. And we're going to be making 8 forward knots now. We have 1 extra knot to make because of the one we moved. Okay, remember that. And now that we're done, we're going to be moving the left side to one side, well, away from the screen. And then we're going to go back to the right side again. Take the string on the edge. We're going to make another 7 backward knots. This is going to be our second chevron. So make 7 backward knots. end. Now that we're done with this half, we're going to move that string towards the left. Now we're going to move to the left and make forward knots. So take the string on the left edge. We're going to be making 8 forward knots. And this is going to be our final knot. So now what we're going to do is going to be a little bit tricky. So we're going to move the left part out, and we're going to start with that third chevron or third half of the chevron. And remember that part I told you is full of easy knotting. We're going to be starting that right now. So now we're going to start making the half of the chevron, which as usual will be our 7 backward knots. So now we're going to move the string we're knotting with towards the left side, because we're not going to be using it for a while. Now moving back towards the right side, what we have are 7 strings. Now we're going to be making the very easy part of knotting. So now take the first 2 strings on the right. That's the first and second, which is going to be like the last and second to the last, which way you're counting it. Well, take the multicolored string in my case and make a forward knot, which would be the second string. Take the second string, make a forward knot on the first string. Now that we've done that, we're going to be using the remaining strings and making 2 forward knots on those 2 strings. So we're going to take the third string and make 1 forward knot on the blue string and then 1 forward knot on the multicolored string. So now we're just going to move that string to one side, so we're not going to be using it anymore. Now take the next string, which is multicolored in my case, and then use that string to make 1 forward knot over the blue string and then 1 forward knot over the multicolored string. Do you get what I'm doing? So we're going to be taking strings from the other side, well, from this side, and then using it to make 2 forward knots over the first 2 strings we had on the edge. And now we just finished with the second blue string. Take the next string, which will be multicolored string. We're going to use that string too and make 2 forward knots. And now this is going to be our last string, so we're going to use that and make 2 forward knots. And this is the second and last one. Okay, now move all the strings we used to make knots to one side on the right and leave them there. We're not going to be using them for another while. So now we're going to take our strings that are on the right and we're going to use that. Remember how I told you we're going to make a chevron? So we're going to make a chevron, which is 8 forward knots, and then we're going to make 2 extra forward knots. Now don't get confused, we're only making those 2 forward knots. Well, we're making them for a very good reason. Why am I holding the tape? I'll just drop that and then I'll just put those 2 strings to one side so I don't confuse you. But just know that we're going to be knotting on them pretty soon, or like now. So we're going to complete our chevron by making 8 forward knots. And now we're almost done with the chevron. Just, well, we're not on our last string. Now we're going to knot 2 extra forward knots, just 2 extra forward knots, because now that we've completed our chevron, we're in the same spot where we should have knotted before. But I'm segment knotting, that's why it's a little different. So now we're going to make 2 forward knots. And you know what we did with all the other strings on the right side previously? That's what we're doing now. So now move that string towards the right, because we're not going to be using it for, well, till we get back to that side. Now those 2 strings again that came from the edge that we just finished knotting on, move them towards the right too. We're going to be using those strings soon, but not, we don't need them for now. So we're going to be trying to repeat what we did on the right side on the left side. So take the 2 strings on the edge, use the second one and make a backward knot over the first string. Now don't drop those 2 strings yet. We're going to take the next string, which is going to be the 3rd string, and that's going to be a blue string in my case, like we did previously, the same color arrangement, string arrangement. We're going to use that to make 2 backward knots, one on the blue string and one on the multicolored string, using the blue string. Now we're going to take the next string, which is multicolored, and we're going to make 2 backward knots again. Move that to the left. Now take the next string, which is going to be the blue string, and make another 2 backward knots. And move that to the left too. Take another string, which is going to be our second multicolored string, and make 2 backward knots. And we will also move this string to the left. So now we have 2 more strings to make backward knots with. Take the next string, which will be the 3rd blue string I'm going to be using, and make 2 backward knots. And move that to the other side too. And now with the last string, we're going to make our 2 backward knots with our 3rd multicolored string. And now that we have strings on the right and strings on the left, we're going to bring back the 2 strings that are currently in the middle of those 2 strings that I told you to put aside for a little while. Bring them back. So you can see we have the same kind of colors and we have 4 strings in the middle. Take the actual 2 strings that are in the middle this time and make a forward knot. Now pick the string that's on the right, yeah, on the right, and make a backward knot over the string you just knotted with the blue string. Now drop the blue string, move it to the other strings on the right. So now hold the 2 strings that are in the middle, which should be 1 multicolor, 2 multicolors, and 1 blue. Take the multicolor on the left side and make 2 forward knots, 1 over the blue string and 1 over the other multicolor string, making a tiny diamond here, like I told you before. So we just completed the, well, this is just the entire bracelet. Next time we're going to make it, we're just going to be repeating the exact same step I told you from the beginning of the chevrons and now, but with different colors. And I'm just going to be showing you that, but I'll be a little bit quicker with it so that we don't waste a lot of time. So getting started again, we're going to start from the right as usual, making the chevron. So like what you can see, we'll take the one on the edge and make 8 backward knots. I think you've already gotten the hang of it. So we have 7 backward knots. Oh, I'm sorry, I said 8. We have 7 backward knots. And now we're just going to take that string, add it to the part on the left. So we're going to switch from the right side to the left side now. Now we're going to take the string on the edge on the left and make 8 forward knots. Again, I'm going to be speeding up a lot here so that we don't waste as much time as we did previously, because we're just repeating the exact same step. The only difference is we're going to be using different colors. And now we're going to start again from the right side, repeating the exact same thing. Take the string on the edge and make 7 backward knots. I hope you remember to add the last string we used to make our chevron for the right. I hope from the left, we brought it towards the right. Forgot to mention that. So now we're done. We're going to move that string to the left and switch to knotting on the left side this time. So take the strings up, make 8 forward knots with the multicolored string. Remember, different colors but same steps. So now remember what I told you previously, that we're going to do the same thing. So now we're going to make the half of the, is braining, are you kidding me? We're going to make the half of a chevron on the right side, then we'll switch to the left side, and you know how it goes from there. So making the chevron now. So now that we're on this side, what we're going to be doing now is to take the last 2 strings on the, well, the first 2 strings on the right, use the second string and make a forward knot. In this case, the second string will be blue, making the forward knot over the multicolored string. Now take the string beside that, which is going to be a multicolored string, what's going to be our third string. Use that string and make 2 forward knots, one on the multicolor and one on the blue string. I don't think it looks like blue from here, it looks like black, but it's blue string. Now take the next string and make another 2 knots. One on the multicolored and one on the, why do I keep hitting my trapper? One on the multicolored and one on the blue. And what we're going to be doing is just taking these next strings and making 2 forward knots each until you run out of strings. So you're going to do this 3 more times. Well, 2 more times because we're already done with the 3rd time. Now this is the last time we're going to be doing this. Then we will switch over to the left side. Now move all the strings. We're switching over. Do you remember how I told you before that we're only going to be making, well, we'll make 8 forward knots, and then on the 2 strings that we just moved to the side, we're going to be making an extra 2 forward knots. That's going to be like 10 forward knots together. So we're going to be making 10 forward knots with the string on the left edge, which is going to be our blue string. So let me just get started quickly. Remember, I'm going to be speeding up a lot of the parts here, so And now it's time to make those 2 additional knots. Well, not additional because we actually need to make them. Anyway, the 9th and the 10th forward knot with our blue string. And now move that blue string towards the bunch on the right. So going back to the left side, we're going to take the 2 strings on the edge, use the 2nd string and make a backward knot over the 1st string. That's going to be the blue string on top of the multicolored string. So now we're going to take the next string and make 2 backward knots each with all those extra strings we have. So on this side, we're going to have 6 strings. So we're going to take each of those strings and make 2 backward knots, one on the multicolored string and one on the blue string. So this is going to be our first one. And when we're done with each string, we're going to move it towards the left, so it's kind of out of the way and looks, well, clean. So this is going to be the first blue string we're going to be using. Now it's going to be the last string we use to make backward knots. So move that to the left side and we'll get started with a tiny diamond. Take the 2 strings in the middle and make a forward knot with the left one on top of the right one. Now, still holding that string, we're going to take the string on the right, next to it on the right, and make a backward knot on top of that string. So drop the string we just made a knot on top of, and now go towards the left side, pick up the pick up the blue string that's there, and make a forward knot over the multicolor string and another forward knot over the blue string to complete our tiny diamond. And that is going to be the end for this pattern. I'm just going to skip to the end so I can show you how I make the end. I'm going to be making a plain triangle end, and if you have any questions, please ask them at this point, and then please leave a timestamp so I can understand what you're talking about. So here I am showing you how to make a triangle end. So what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be starting from the right side as usual. Take the 2nd string on the right edge and make a forward knot. Now hold those 2 strings together, take the next string, the 3rd string, and make a forward knot over those 2 strings together, like that. Now take the next string and make a forward knot on that together. So that's what we're just going to be taking the next strings like that and making forward knots over all of them together in a bunch. Next string, make 1 forward knot, hold it together, take the 2nd to the last string, make a forward knot, hold it together, and the last string, make sure this one is tight, and there, that's all. So I'm just going to move to the left side and do the same thing. The only difference is that on the left side we'll be making backward knots instead of forward knots. So now take the 2nd string and make a backward knot over the 1st string on the edge, like that. Then hold them together, take the next string and make another backward knot, hold together, next string, backward knot, hold it together, and I'm just going to speed this part a little bit so that, well, less time spent watching the tutorial. So now we're actually done with making a triangle start. What we're going to be doing now is making a tie. Now you can choose to make your ties in multiple ways. You can just divide your ties into two, and then make a twisted tie. You can choose to put all the colors in one half and another color in the other half, or you could make a braided tie by putting three three on the left, three on the right, and then four. Sorry, it doesn't make any. You can do three on one side, three on the other side, and then two in the middle if that's your choice. What I'm going to be doing is taking and divide them into four, two in each quarter. So I'm going to be making a braided tie. So I'm going to take what's on the edge and move it on top, what's in the middle, move it under that one, and then what's on the edge, move it on top. So again, what we have, over, under, over. So I'm going to show you again. So take what's on the left edge, move it over, take what's in the middle, and move it on top. Well, move it on top of the string on the that's coming from the left, and then take the last one and move that string on top. So I'm just going to do this one more time. So on top, move it under, and then move it on top, and then make sure it's tight, because what I'm doing here isn't tight, because I'm not used to nothing like this. So I'm going to show you again. Under, on top, under, on top. One more time. On top, under, on top, on top, under, on top. So I'm just going to be doing this throughout this bracelet. So here now, I'm just going to take one of my multicolor strings on the right edge, because I ended it here for a reason. And I'm going to be making backward forward knots with this string. So remember, a backward forward knot is just making a backward knot, the first half a backward knot, and the second half will be a forward knot. So I'm going to be making 4 of those knots, well, 3 more of those knots. So we're making 2 more of these knots, this backward forward knot. So thank you for watching so far. Please remember to follow me on Instagram and also like and subscribe. Have a nice time. Bye.